Kids on the floor, paws at the door, spills in the hall. You've seen it all. Welcome to Clean Living with Sam. I am carpet cleaning. We're the team that you need, and breathe and feel that sparkle again. Welcome to Clean Living with Sam. I am. Oh yeah.
Welcome to the Clean Living Podcast with Sam I am Carpet Cleaning. Today we have Zach Golden from Golden Light Ministries. Welcome, Zach.
Good morning.
Just a little bit of background about Zach. He has worked with us for about the last 7 months. He's done a little bit of everything, been with us in our busy season, as well as handled our on-call emergencies. So we've really appreciated him, but now he is he's going to be going on to bigger, better things, and we're going to be talking about that today. Zach, you want to give us a little bit of background about yourself?
Yeah, I've always been in the Frankfort, Indiana area. Struggled with drug addiction and self-worth most of my life. Self-abuse, built up prison up in my own mind. Led me down a really cool road where I got to meet Jesus, and that was in December of 2017. And I started working at the Crossing, which is a high school with kids, teens that struggled, kind of the same area that I did. And that kind of led me down the road where I started working with your wife. And then when I left the Crossing to do this endeavor, that kind of opened up that passageway where I heard about cleaning carpets. It was never somewhere I envisioned myself. I think it's cool when we can step back and see where God has like ordained our steps.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of those steps that's taking me to go serve Him across the overseas. I think that's a beautiful thing. A little about me. I have a daughter. She's 19, just got married. Maybe future endeavors cleaning with them. I am. So that's about it.
So Zach is now going to be transitioning last week, which is last week of helping us out. And we'll get into where you're going from here. But real quick, I got to ask, what's the nastiest thing you've seen working for Sam I am?
For the most part, it hasn't been overly bad. I went to an apartment at 1 o'clock in the morning, but I walked in. They didn't say anything over the phone, so I just do my normal show up with the van, pull up, go in to see it, and the guy had an apartment, and he wanted me to go through the window, and I didn't really know why, so I went ahead and went to the door window, downstairs, and it was fairly nasty in there, and continued in the hallway, so I went out in the hallway, and it was something I hadn't seen. I had to call you and say, hey, can I do this without breaking the equipment? It was septic, sewer water, and there was all kinds of stuff in there that I did not expect to see.
Right.
And it was not a normal extraction. It was kind of shoveling it up and pushing to the side. But it wasn't even nasty in the sense of like I had to clean it. It was nasty in the sense of the people that lived in those buildings couldn't even get to their doors because of it. Yeah. No one's fault. But I think just seeing that made it even extra nastier was like knowing that they had to walk through that and smell that, all that combinations. It made it pretty bad.
Yeah, and we had talked about it before, but after seeing that photo, I had the same issue there before, and it was nowhere near as bad as what you had. And after I looked at the photo, my first thought is, no, we're not doing that. But then I think of the residents that have to live there, and if we don't do it, who's going to? What kind of impression are we leaving by saying no? I'm not.
Yeah.
It doesn't really come down to money at that point. It's just doing the right thing to help the customer. And even though the residents aren't the ones paying the bill, it affects them and their ability to live life. So I was just like, I hate to ask you to do it, but will you do it? And just kind of gave you some tips on what to do and how to clean the equipment afterwards. And when we have something like that, we make sure we clean the equipment out, the hoses, the wand, everything, disinfect, so we don't take any of that with us when we're done. But It's just one of those terrible sides of doing that job.
I think that's you never look forward to doing something like that, right? But I think that's also shows what the company is about. I think, you think of Colossians 3:23, and it says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart for the Lord and
Right.
not for men." And in those instances, it doesn't just come down to the dollar bill,
No.
and it doesn't come down to the equipment. It comes down to what you put out there and what you get, And I think that if you do that, you could look past the smells or the, nastiness of the floor and see the good in what you're doing. That's what makes it worth it. Whether you're cleaning carpets or rooms or milling, whatever it is, if you feel that goodness out of it, I think that's what makes it so much.
Right. And I think that when you're when you want to complain and grumble about the job you're doing, if you remember that you're doing it for the Lord, this is something that, maybe they don't ask, maybe they ask, why in the world would you do something like that? But it gives you an opportunity that may not be there to tell them why we do what
Yeah.
we do.
I mean, in Philippians, it says, in Philippians 2:14, I believe it says, do everything without complaining or arguing. And if you could not even just clean the carpet, but if you can face that question, ask yourself that, in all things that you do, and you can do it without complaining and arguing, not only are you going to get the job done more peaceful, the people are going to see it. Like,
Right.
what do you mean you're peaceful? Why are you smiling when you're sucking up food? Like, what is wrong with you? And it's that side of it,
Right.
when you can see the better good, and that peace and following it. Some people will be like, "What do you mean?" Well, relate it back to the Bible, and that gives life. And I think when you can take verses and you can apply it in every aspect of your life, especially cleaning carpets,
Right.
you have a more peaceful life.
Yeah. And, I learned in the military, uh, and you too had served, there's just certain things you gotta do. And you just, one of those things was adapt and overcome. And that's what we do a lot of times. And also, suck it up and drive on.
Suck it up.
You sucked it up and
Yeah.
drive on. That's some things that you just can't teach people. It just kind of has to be inside them that, you know what, no matter what, I'm going to just do the job. I may not like it,
Mhm.
but complaining and grumbling is not going to make it any better.
And I mean, even from my side of things, I committed to the job. I
Right.
committed to the on-call, and I think so often, even in life, we commit to something, then we see what it is, what it's like. We make excuses to get out of it and relate that back. I gave my word, I'm going to give it, whether it takes 3 hours, 6 hours. We're going to finish the job.
Right.
We don't get to pick and choose after we give our word. That does. Most people in the world would disagree with that, but I think that that's the quality of life that we choose to live and,
Right.
and who we represent.
I think that was part of my early struggles in my faith walk was, I want to do this. And then I seen what the commitment was. I started counting the
Yeah.
dots as the Bible says. And I'm like, I'm not ready to get that thing up right now.
Yeah, I like it. I like being in control and knowing what I'm doing and being able to pick and choose. But I'm kind of glad to pick and choose.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like prayer. Just give me one more day with the toads, and then you can take them away. It's crazy. When we just sit and talk and the things that pop into my mind, that I'm like, why did I struggle so long? Because there were certain things I didn't want to give up. But I do take my word as something that I honor. And I had told my son this, my oldest son, who's now 30 years old. I told him, I can't leave you a lot of things when I die, but I can leave you a good name. And I hope you carry that on.
Yeah.
And
I think,
that's something I'm proud of, not.
were you that way before you met Christ?
I was to an extent because I grew up knowing of this Jesus. So I always had a moral compass. I wasn't always good at following it, but which always convicted me, which also reminded me of my need in Jesus. So I knew about it, but I didn't always live for him. But I tried to be a good person.
Yeah.
Thinking I'm a good guy. Not that I thought it was going to get me into heaven, because I grew up listening to the preachers saying, "You do this, you're going. You do that, you're going to hell."
Checklist.
Yeah, and it to me it just seems so impossible. But, fortunately, years later, I realized I don't have to do it all. And it's not me, but Christ
Yeah.
that lives in me. So I don't know. I kind of got off on that sidebar there.
Well, I think I talked about the word and saying we're going to do it. We do it. That's our integrity, and that shows who we are and why we do what we do. Before that was not a thing. I mean, I might say, "Yeah, I'll do it."
Right.
Something comes up, like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna change my plans." I think once I met Christ, that worked in Christ is a new creation. You'll be gone from this game. That was something that was so pathetic of a character trait for me to possess that when I got saved, that's why I like that word and the commitment and the integrity, like your yes, yes, no, no.
Yeah.
And I think that's grown a lot, as I've grown in Christ. I think that's why we are able to do what we're able to do, and I think that shows with the company that you run. I think that shows those that follow Christ that our word is who we represent.
Right. Right. You talked about the culture here at Sam I Am. Remind me of a question that Sammy asked me the other day on my way home from picking him up at school and driving home. Sammy said, "Dad, does somebody have to be a Christian to work at Sam I Am?" I'm like, no, that would be illegal, first of all. Second of all, we don't hire just because you believe. If anybody's a good worker, we're gonna take them. You know, they may be uncomfortable being around us who don't act the same way that they do or talk the same way, but yeah, it's easier. It's like that old what is it, the old Matthew McConaughey. Yeah. It sure be cool if you did.
Well, it's a cleaner way of living.
Right.
It's not always the most comfortable way, but people are uncomfortable around some Christians, and probably right. So, but for the most part, we're not out doing anything wrong. We're talking full, like we're cleanly talking. We're not cutting down people. We're not looking at people and judging them for how they look or how they live or anything like that. So yeah, they may not be a Christian, but I think that's what's wrong with living the way we live.
Right.
Nothing changes. And I think people get uncomfortable because they can feel how they should live.
Right. Yeah, and their own addiction comes out sometimes hostile towards the other people. But it is what it is, and we're not going out for preaching the gospel every day. We're not beating the people over the head with the Bible, but we try to live as our faith dictates.
Yeah.
We try to be different, not intentionally. It's just our lifestyle. I don't drink anymore. I don't smoke anymore. So I don't have those things in common with people who do. I used to, and thank God I don't it. But I've always told the guys we don't have to go out preaching the gospel. We don't have to, be every time they say a swear word, somebody that we're working with, we don't have to make an issue out of it. We just don't do that.
Yeah.
And I myself would feel bad if I saying I'm a Christian and out there, acting like they do.
Yeah.
So we have to be a little bit different, but we still have great relationships with every place we work at. Uh, and I think it's pretty cool. We've seen some people start coming to church. There's a guy in particular. Hopefully, sometime I'll have him on and talk to him. Because he's worked with us as carpet clean. Now he's a brother in Christ, and it's just not something I predicted. I wouldn't have guessed it, knowing where he was and where he is now. But I think just being faithful, doing what we're supposed to do, and just living the best clean life that we can.
I think that's what we're called to do, and I think that's what makes it attractive. If it's not attractive, why would somebody want
Right.
going around cussing and yelling and being disgruntled and complaining and being negative Nancy everywhere you go? It doesn't put that off. So it's like we can look at it as just clean carpets, but it's also an open door to someone's life that was never meant to be. That Jesus said, "Hey, I'm going to use you to make an impact," and we can be an impact to clean the carpet. We can be an impact to helping clean a pool. We can be an impact to brighten somebody's day. We don't get to choose that. And I think that's why we're called to live that way, and we can look at it as just a carpet. We can look at it on a grand scale, maybe on the people that that person talked to that day. And maybe we went through something in life that we never wanted to go through, and this person's going through it. Now we're opening the door to walk in and clean the carpet, but we're probably not just there to clean the carpet.
Right.
And I think when you have people that you come in interactions with in your day to day and do your job, and they see something in you that they want, and they start going to church, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And that takes it to another level. I think that's those cool interactions. When I went into one apartment, and it was a really older gentleman, and he was like a world renowned pianist, and he had like all these awards. And like, it was just really cool to sit down, and he was so happy to get to talk about the one thing in his life that gave him joy. And he was a Christian, but like he had a book, and he had all these. He was just eager to show somebody.
Right.
And you think about that. Think about the elderly in this world, and they don't get any visitors, and you don't think much of it because you're going to clean a carpet, and then you spend 30 minutes talking to a guy,
Yeah.
and you probably made his entire day. And I think that's really cool opportunities to have.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree. And uh, sometimes it's hard dealing with the public, but that's also sometimes where you get your greatest joy is the interactions you have with the customer and them kind of sharing their world with you.
Yeah.
Uh, so, yeah, we kind of got off on a little Bible study for preaching the gospel, but so yeah, you have been a great help at Sam I Am, and now you're going to be transitioning to uh, Golden Light Ministries, and you're going to Ecuador to help spread the gospel down there. Uh, Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, 5 mornings. 5 mornings I wake up and I get on a plane by myself and fly to another country. And I think the uncertainty, the not knowing where we go in life, and cleaning carpets to moving to another country, like how can that relate? Comes back down to the lifestyle cleaning. It's not just clean living in the sense of cleaning your carpets. It's clean living in the sense of how you treat your soul, how you see other people, how you see self worth, how you're loved in the image of the Creator. And I think the all the struggle, James says, consider pure joy, my brothers, you face trials of many kinds. And all the lessons where I've learned in life that I've really screwed up, God has allowed those messes to become a message. I think being called to go to another country that I don't know the language yet, don't necessarily know the culture, and I don't know any of that. I'm just peon, drug addicted, Zach Golden ever measured up compared to the love that I was shown when I was rescued from that person when the new creation came in. That doesn't change wherever you are in the world. That the deplority of how one person looks at himself doesn't matter if you're in Ecuador or Chile or Africa or United States or Europe or Ukraine. People deserve to be loved.
Right.
And we're blessed in America. We have Christian churches on every other block in every other town. We have 33,000 denominations. How to look at one book. And I think that we're called to do that. Not everybody's called to go to another country. So to have Jesus say, hey, go, okay, you saved me from death. And why wouldn't I go and share that love? I think that's power in that. You don't need to express words to show somebody that they're a human, that life is valuable, and that you are not worse than what you think you are. And I think being able to take that love and expel it out is what takes me back. It's
Right.
it's not the fun, it's not the joy of getting to go see one of the most beautiful countries there are. It's being able to reach a brokenness to help people in brokenness. And I think that's even back to the cleaning, it's more than just taking dirt off the carpet. And then when you look at your life that way, I think that's what brings me to where I'm at with Golden Light Ministries. Drug addict tried killing himself, no purpose, to CEO of a nonprofit, even if it's a small, tiny, just started.
Right.
That does not happen for me, but by the grace of God.
Yeah. Fun. Reminds me of, I think you and I were talking the other day about, how it talks about, I think it's in James, where he's talking about you can have faith, but you also have to have work. And not that works will save you, but it works as a result of your faith, and it talked about Abraham, if he wouldn't have been willing to sacrifice Isaac, then his faith wouldn't have meant much. Yeah. So to see that play out, and when that all started, the Golden Light Ministries, which is goldenlightministries.org, check them out on Facebook or the webpage or whatever modes. Right now we only have Facebook and a website. When that first started out, it was just a hope
Mm-hmm.
drive that you felt God led you to do missionary work. And then it became an organization. And then we started receiving funds, and to where your first 4 months are funded, and then you've got money for ministry, you got money for the travel, you've got, I mean, and it's all from people donating. And to me, that's just, it's amazing to see it work. And, even down to the dollar amount, we'll always need more money to continue the mission. But what we needed for the first 4 months was covered. Yeah.
By the grace of God,
Yeah.
I don't, I have, by His grace, I was able to become principal in school. I was able to make some pretty cool impacts, but financially, it's never been something that a drug addict. Yeah, I wasn't. I was comfortable with it, and to look back in the last month to see that by His grace, we're funded to go to another country to make an impact. To be able to go buy kids in the third world country that's never left the village some tacos or some pizza, show them that they're loved, and work out with them, and share the Bible with them. Like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So a couple of things you'll be doing over there. You're wanting to start a Fit for Jesus
yeah.
movement for the youth
Well, I mean, I think
or for everybody.
for everybody, but I think when you can get time alone and you can get joy and you can just have some fun with it, but also take care of the body that God gave you, I think that helps you out long term. And up 6 months ago, I was asked to start working out. I've been in the Marine Corps, I've done everything, but the benefits I've had in the last 6 months of working out, just being around people and having good conversations in the morning, set my day off, and working out can help with your stress, and it can open up so many avenues, and especially in a country that the quality of life is not that good, to get them up and moving and instilling hope, building relationship. I think working out is a beautiful way of life. And I'm not talking about getting barbells out and lifting 225 pounds with them, but hopscotch in the sidewalk, or well, I don't have sidewalks in the street, jump roping and just having fun. Like that gets them up and moving.
Right.
And I think that gets them around other people. And when they start talking, start having joy, no matter where you're at. If you have people around you and your atmosphere is good and you're happy, your quality of life improves. So
Right.
Fit for Jesus is just it's a little way that He's kind of showed me in the last few years, like support it.
Right.
It does matter to take care of your body. Wasn't very good at that for most of my life. So if I can offer a helping hand, I think that's a major thing. But something else, the biggest thing is to give a child a hand up in a generation where they're already having their legs cut out from under them just from
Right.
being born, but you can't even drink water. I think the best thing that I have is also the least prepared that I'm in is the language barrier. I think being able to sit down with people, and it's extremely daunting to think about, but to sit down with kids, have flashcards, and have like little pictures and stuff of English and Spanish, and getting to teach them a language that will give them a hand up no matter where they go in the world, because we're privileged as Americans to get to speak English, and they can then help themselves and have a dollar bill to translate. I think that itself is important than anything, is that can help pull them out of the environment quicker than anything. It's just giving them another language to give them a hand up.
Yeah. I could see where that would be beneficial. One of the other things you're hoping to do is a trip for some of the seniors.
Yeah, I mean, imagine wherever you're at, and I would say United States, but let's even go bigger. Let's just you're listening to this, and wherever you're at in the world, imagine never leaving the confines of that area. And
Right.
it's one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and I think that's the deplority of their life, is they're stuck 5,000, 7,000, 10,000 feet up on a mountain, and they're not able to get out of there. There's one road in, one road out. I think being able to get to an Amazon forest and being able to see something that you've lived around for 80 years for pretty cheap when you look at Americans. And, $2,200 we can rent a bus for 50 people to go down 8 hours to the Amazon basin to see a country they've lived in, to see that it's beautiful, that God created these things for us to go out and see, and to be able to instill hope and give something to somebody that hasn't had an entire life. It's not about me and that moment. It's not about Golden Light for that moment. It's about that person being valued and being seen and getting to do something, even if it's a reward.
Right.
And that's something, no matter how long they live or continue to live, they're not going to forget. And I think that opens the barriers of like those blinders we put on our whole life. Imagine 80 years of never being seen or heard, valued, and then all of a sudden, bam, some guy comes in and takes you out and go see the forest. Well, why?
Right.
Well, then you get to share like why I've been able to do that, why I'm alive. And I think that joy and that appreciation of human being makes a difference. And
Right.
that's what we want to do, right? We don't want the world to go worse. Like, the world's bad enough as it is. We don't need to add to it. But if there's something we can add to it and a good simple thing, then yeah, that one's big on my heart. It's not I want to do this and shove the gospel down there and throw Jesus and say you're going to hell if you don't accept it. It's to show them that they're loved. And I think to me that's a really big one, because that's constant fruit and like free advertisement.
Yeah. uh, so those things that you're wanting to do extra, I mean, there may be some of that in the budget, but you do need additional funding for like the trip or to buy extra things once you're down there, because you can't ship anything.
Yeah,
down.
no mail, no Amazon, no UPS, none of that. And I think we've been blessed. I mean, to have those funds in our account, but those are daily operating, and living in another country and being able to help out in ways we need to be or smart on how we handle our money. So when we can come up with special projects, it also gives the donor rights to choose to what they want to do,
Right.
And I think that's a powerful thing. And it's not asking for a lot of money, but when we can break out separate projects like that for the gospel and say we get money up to this, we're always allowing ourselves to have money to do kingdom work that we don't see coming.
Right.
And I think that's very powerful, because a man can commit all his ways, but it will not succeed. And I think we have to be smart how to do that. But if you commit your ways to the Lord, He'll see them through, And I think being smart with that, having that money, and I think it's hard for me to get on and ask for money, and I see my face plastered on Facebook, and it's enough to make me not want to do another video. But there's a need for it, and there's a necessity for it. So I think breaking it down is a smart way and an easy way for donors to hop on Give Butter,
Yeah.
and make a donation.
That leads me to a couple of ways to give. So you've got online at Give Butter. You can find it on the Facebook or on the website. You can just mail a check in to P.O. Box 11, Frankfort, Indiana, 46041. Or you could also just get a hold of Zach at Z Golden and send him an email. Also, one of the things I think you probably need a lot of, and I think you've mentioned this before, is prayer. So if you're a believer out there, and if you could just have Zach on your prayer list, for the people to have open hearts and minds, that's one of the most important things. They've got to be receptive to this. And some of them may have, lack of trust. They could, you've got the language barrier, several things against you, but God can open them all those.
I think that's, the scripture in Psalm 133 says how great blessed it is when brothers live together in unity. And I think prayer above all things. Not everybody's called or gifted to mission. And I think those are spiritual gifts. But as soon as we accept Christ our Savior, we have immediate access to grace. And I think it's really easy for me to pray for myself. That doesn't mean to cover my face, because we all have pride and ego, and we all have an expectation. So when we can take all those prayers, we can pile them up, and they're all going to one court kingdom work. That gives me peace, and that kind of support is paramount. I know I can't do it, and I know we can't do it on our own. Golden Light Ministries, between the 6 of us, that's hard. But when you include the family of God, we can all grow together as him as one head, differences are made.
Right.
You know?
Right. And we're not, you're not all knowing, you're not all powerful.
Praise the Lord, I'm not.
So that's where the community really comes in.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't expect to give a dollar bill. That's not the whole point of it. But I think we're in a side of the world where it's really hard for some to give money, and you may think like I can't do anything, and oh yeah, I can pray, and when you start praying for someone else, maybe you struggle praying for yourself. And I think even in that regard, when you can join together and pray for someone else's cause to do kingdom work, you reap some benefits in that too,
Right.
you know. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So uncomfortable to ask for help.
Right. Well, and sometimes we got to get out of our own way. This for me is like doing some kind of report.
Yeah.
But I feel like one, people need to know who we are if they're inviting us into their home to clean carpet. I do want to share our beliefs. And three, just good to have clean living. Whether it's your home,
Yeah.
your heart, whatever it is, we need that. I can tell from personal experience, not having those things, it doesn't bring much peace.
Yeah.
But I found peace since doing all of these things. We've got great people in this community, and we've got great stories of recovery over addiction. One of the other things we could use as an organization is partners, whether it be small businesses who may feel like they're called to give,
Yeah.
bigger businesses, anybody. If they want to help sponsor this organization, we will be more than happy to put their logo on the website, mention them in newsletter. It's twofold. You get to help someone, not only maybe just help them here by seeing that you're a company that likes to support local causes, even if it's across the ocean, as well as you get to be on the advertising for the
I
mission.
think, as a business, small business partner, getting that advertising on there, that's always good. But also being able to help in situations where you would have never been able to envision yourself
Right.
helping. I think, it's community and it's global, but for the overall scheme of things, it is helping worldwide to help poverty. It is Christ based. I want clean living to go all the way down to the depth of your soul. But even if you find yourself not as a Christian, you can still help. You can
Right.
still help the world. And I think that's like a touchy topic to get into. But business partners are so much of a value
Right.
because it can help both ways.
Yeah. Well, and if you help your local community, which eventually maybe, if God willing, Golden Light will have an impact in Clinton County.
Long term, that I would love as an organization to open a faith-based recovery.
Yeah.
That's free. I think money, just like for us to go down to Ecuador, money is a critical asset. I think within the community of Clinton County and the surrounding communities, we could really benefit from something that's free.
Right.
And in the long run, that's going to take business partners.
Right. Yeah. Whether you're a believer or not, I don't know how you wouldn't want somebody to get off of addiction.
Yeah.
Whether it be drugs or alcohol or whatever it is, it only benefits your society.
We were all created for purpose, no matter what you think that is. No one was created to hate themselves. No one was created to be addicted, to go to suicidal and ideations. No one was created for that. And I
Right.
think it doesn't take Christ to look at somebody and say, oh, they have value. I mean, we're all human beings. And I'm pretty sure last time I checked, we should all value ourselves, to be able to get somebody a helping hand out of addiction. Almost heartless to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Little bias on that. I'm quite a recovered drug addict, so you can judge me if you would like.
To me, it only makes sense whether you believe or don't believe. Just like Sammy asking me if you had to be a Christian. No, you don't have to be. Anybody can support this. Hopefully, they could see some value in helping people in another country who do not have the same opportunities we have. Unless you've been in the third world or even a a second world country. You just don't realize not everybody lives the same way that we do.
Not everybody has access to clean water.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't be drinking any water. That's where I got to get bottled water. I think those are things we take for granted.
Yeah.
We're blessed. Man.
Or sewage. Like some places don't have, a sewage.
Yeah.
I was in Korea right out of AIT, and I remember back then I partied quite a bit. So I go down to the town right outside the bay in Camp Casey and go into a restroom, and there's a urinal, but there was nothing underneath that urinal. You peed in the urinal, and then it just dropped on the floor. Oh, lovely. But too much information.
The way others live, though, that you
Yeah.
would never know. It may be too much information, but it's probably not too much information for people that never knew that was a thing, and sometimes it takes people to uncomfortably sit on the podcast and point things out. I think that's the kind of what we're called to do, right?
Yeah.
Back to like trying to bring it back to Sam I Am. It's so much more than just cleaning carpets.
Yeah.
It's so much it's satisfying to see it stain come out of something.
Yeah.
How much more powerful to see it stain come out of your life.
Yeah.
And to even more so to be that person behind the scenes that got to clean, remove the stain.
Yeah.
That person is going to be blessed to help them out. So yeah, imperative.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks, Zach, for recording this again. We did this once, and hopefully this time it'll be a one and done or two and done. But thanks for coming on. Thanks for your time.
One thing.
Yeah.
I'd like to give a cleaning. Yeah.
Okay.
I was never much of a cleaner. I mean, I'm not a dirty person. Don't get me wrong. I clean my house. But just one thing that I've realized, going to apartments and cleaning, like sometimes we think it's clean and all that. And I think of like we're on clean living and a podcast. And I just want to say, when you go and you spend $10 to $15 special chemical and you spray it on a counter and you wipe it off right away, you might as well just buy some water and just spray it and wipe it away. Let the chemical do its job and let it settle.
Yeah.
And let it do its job. Go away for 5 minutes and come back and clean it. And it'll be a lot easier on you.
We're all in a hurry these days.
So in a hurry, man.
Spray it and then start scrubbing. Yeah. Like, if I just let it set, it probably would have worked well. But
Give it time.
Yeah.
I think that's good advice in all areas of your life. Clean living goes so much deeper than that. But I think that one thing I would like to say is the opportunities that Sam I Am, I never saw them coming. I never envisioned that going from a school education system to clean carpets going to Ecuador. But there's values to learn in all areas of your life if you're open. And I think the way that you treat people at this company, the way that they're affected by it, and the relentless that you serve the community, it's just to get it out there. That Same I Am is so much more than just a carpet cleaner.
Yeah.
And not only do we clean carpets, if you have a water pipe bust or if you have something in your house, you can call Same I Am for a water extraction, and you can do that after hours. And they're going to show up and they're going to be there, and we're going to take your best heart and interest. And I think that's powerful to get out there and let them know that Same I Am carpet cleaning is more than just carpet cleaning, but it's also looking out for your best interest. And I think for me, coming here and helping, I remember spending a weekend here cleaning and painting your walls and stuff. And I didn't clock in, but it gave me an opportunity to take a student that was struggling and bring him here and talk to him for 8 hours, And I think the growth of me just being at Sam I Am and getting to know you and getting to know the guys that work here has been a blessing.
Yeah.
And I get to take some of this knowledge down to Ecuador, and it's not the knowledge of cleaning carpet, it's the knowledge of how to treat somebody, how to see someone, how to give someone opportunities, how to look at things different, how to be satisfied with small things like cleaning a carpet.
Right.
Like now, if I ever clean a carpet, the diamond patterns in it drive me nuts if they're not done. But like when you get done and you see it, it's satisfying,
Yeah.
And thank you for the opportunity to get on here and have a podcast. Thank you for serving on the board, and thank you for allowing me to work for Sam I Am for the last 7 months. I think that's been a blessing.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And Zach brought up an important thing that if you do have questions on cleaning, email them to us. I'll put a link in the description for Golden Light Ministries and for Sam I Am Carpet Cleaning. just shoot us an email.
One thing I've noticed since I started cleaning carpets, it's really hard for me to, and I hope everybody's listening because I am dropping a line here. It's really hard for me to go into other places and not recognize spots.
Oh,
It's hard for me to go into restaurants, pay attention, and there's several restaurants, by the way,
right.
that I walk in and I see stains on the floor. And now I look at them like, clean your car, take
Filthy,
care of
yeah.
it. So if you're a business, like customers see it. You may not want to spend the money, but customers see it. And I think walking into places and see it now, I'm like, oh my God, everybody needs a clean carpet. And I'm not doing it just to sell it. I mean, you think of the hallways and all this weather, we got all this snow and all this salt. And I'm definitely hitting the old advertisement hard here. Those carpets are going to need to be cleaned. If you
Yeah.
don't get them clean and you let that stuff sit in there and wear, and it's 6 months down the road and you're starting to see it, your carpet's going to be trash. You're going to be buying a whole new carpet. Spend a little money and get that carpet cleaned.
Yeah, yeah, definitely would appreciate that. Especially after the last couple days of weather that we've had and not being able to work due to temperatures. So yeah, please call us. Well, thanks again, Zach, and I appreciate it. And good luck on your endeavors.
Well, thank you very much and God bless.